TikTok. Time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. It's your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D-Wood. My voice almost gave out right there at the beginning, man. Right there at the beginning.
You almost had like a Michael Jones voice crack going on there.
Hey, don't be making fun of Michael Jones just because he sounds like a 13-year-old going through puberty, man. That could be an asset. If he'd have never showed his face, he could have always pretended to be a 13-year-old, and everyone would have thought that a 13-year-old is schooling everybody and humiliating them.
He should have stuck with the whole shtick there. He could have really milked it. I don't know how long he could be. He's been doing it for a while, so people would eventually figure that's one long.
Yeah, should have never showed his face. That's what I thought. It was like the first probably 8 or 10 videos of his. They were all graphic, so I always thought he was some 13-year-old. I thought this kid is going to be the greatest apologist who ever lived. Could have kept that up. Could have kept it up. So,
It's a shame.
Testify. Hi, everyone here. I'm here with Testify Apologetics. Everyone for a while has been saying, David, check out Testify. And I kept saying, I will, eventually. And then I don't remember what happened, but maybe AP sent it. Someone sent me a couple days ago. Someone sent your video. The Quran is either unclear or bad or something like that, which we'll go ahead and watch. But it's actually funny. The funny video. People told
AP said that I was cool on a live stream the other day. So I was like, that's AP and that's my grandma. So if my grandma and AP both think that I'm cool, then
pretty cool.
I'm pretty much Miles Davis at this point. So.
Pretty darn cool. So do people tell you you're funny in your videos?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of memes. Maybe some people might be thrown off right now because they probably think I'm a Zoomer based on the presentation. And then, you get this scraggly graybeard guy being like, how do you do?
That's also what I thought.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. It looked like it was a video made by a young person for a bunch of young people. And it turns out you're an old man.
It's pretty pathetic.
Because then it becomes creepy. You know what I mean? Like, hey kids, I've got some candy.
Yeah, I have a van too. I mean, I don't have any candy though. We don't. We're pretty crunchy in my household there. But no, I have teenagers, and they kind of help me out. And but yeah, I make fun because I can relate to the kids in my youth group at my church, and at the same time, I'm like talking to 60-year-olds about old Seinfeld episodes and different stuff like that. And so, yeah. Anyway. Just the whole Steve Buscemi, how do you do, fellow kids kind of thing there. I promise I'm not a cop though. So yeah.
Hey, but what's up with the marine biologist episode?
That's right. The all in one.
Classic. All right. So let's go ahead and play the video that I saw. I have not seen other videos from you, but I have a bunch pulled up that I have not seen. We'll go and check out the one that I have seen, and then you could tell us a bit about what you do, on your channel. I mean, we're going to get a glimpse of it, but you also cover other things on your channel,
right?
And how you got into this and stuff like that. And we'll keep going through some of your videos until everyone gets completely sick of them and never wants to check out your videos again.
I mean, they're already getting to that point. But yeah, so.
All right, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This was the first Testify video. No, this is the first and only Testify video that I've seen, but it made me want to watch more. So I'll go ahead and let's watch this.
Quran 11:1 says, "This is a book whose verses give clear instructions explained by a wise, knowledgeable Lord." The Quran claims to be clear, decisive, and perfectly constructed. But the true Quran is in Arabic, so how can we know? Far from being a problem, we can use translations to test the Quran's claims. If the Quran really is clear and decisive, then devoted Muslims who translate the Quran into English should give equivalent translations. Not identical words, of course, but the same idea. If different translators describe different ideas, then the meaning of the Quran can't be clear. For example, two translators say, "My cat needs a bath," and "My cat needs to be washed," then that's fine. But if they say, "My cat needs a bath," and "My cat likes to be left alone," then we would wonder why the translators are so confused. If many translators differ like this, there must be something unclear about the original. In particular, moral guidance should be the most clear and decisive. So let's have a close look at a moral command in the Quran. At IslamAwakened.com, there are 36 generally accepted translations. We'll use this sample. Turn to Quran 434. Here's the first translation.
Hey, you could run this exact same argument with multiple Quran verses.
There are a lot of them. Yeah, I mean, the other day I was running the Islamic dilemma on somebody, and they were like, "Oh, well, no, you don't judge by the Quran, right? It's just verse 48 says it's the criterion." And I'm like, well, there's like a bunch of other translations that say like guardian or preserver or all these other things. Criterion and guardian, that's really different, dude.
Yep.
And so like that's not really going to work. And it's like, why are they translating it differently? Is it because they're trying to preserve their Islamic narrative, or, you know, what's going on? And so, why should I trust any English translation of the Quran if you guys are perfectly fine with switching up to theology?
And that one is especially difficult for them because it's not a situation where you could just look up the meaning of the word. You can go back to their earliest commentators, and they all disagreed about what the word meant. And so the translating it as a criterion or something like that, that's a minority. That's a minority position. Mm-hmm. All the other translations all like support our position, right? It's the Quran is like a guardian and so on, watching over the previous scriptures and so on. Especially if you read it in context. If you read it in context, it's, how is the Quran a guardian over the other scriptures? Well, when Jews or Christians say, we don't want to follow our scriptures, the Quran says, no, you go back and follow your scriptures. That's the word of God. And that's how the Quran is guarding these earlier scriptures. And then Muslims go with criterion, and then they give it the exact opposite meaning of what it means in the context, that the Quran is condemning these earlier scriptures and so on. So yeah, that is an issue. But I mean, yeah, so you can find dozens of translations of that verse that give you different meanings, and they'll like fixate on the one that they can twist into agreeing with their position. And it's just, I don't know, it's pathetic. That's what you get from the clear Quran. But unlike Surah 4 verse 34. So yeah, you just pointed out that one. 65:4 would be another perfect one, because if the Quran's either clear, if the Quran is clear, then you've got 14 centuries of Muslims who all interpreted that verse in the same way, namely that you can have sex with prepubescent girls. The alternative is that they all got it wrong. The Quran's hopelessly unclear. So it's evil or unclear once again. Anyway, so yeah, you could actually take the same script and just plug in different verses and run this script 20 different times from the Quran.
Yeah, I mean, you're already giving me devious ideas. I think the 65:4 is would be genius. I will have to exploit that.
And it's easy to toss the commentaries right up on the screen. They all interpret it this way. Ibn Abbas, Ibn Kathir, the two Jalals, Tabari, dozens and dozens of the most famous Islamic commentators all interpret it the same way. You've even got Muhammad Hijab saying that it's clearly talking about sex with prepubescent girls. He says you can't go around that. And so
this is the beauty of Islam.
It's the beauty of Islam. But it's funny because if you go to a regular Muslim who's not familiar with this stuff, he'll instantly say, that's not what it means. It means something else.
No, they'll freak out. Yeah.
And so, yep, you're stuck, buddy. You're stuck. Now you're saying that the Quran is not clear. So unclear. It is a weird situation that, like, they can brag about their book being clear and then simultaneously say that 14 centuries of their greatest scholars all completely misinterpreted the verse.
I mean, yeah, obviously it's super clear. Clear as the proverbial mud. So.
All right, so you're going with Surah 4, verse 34 for this version. Let's see.
At the top of the page. Men shall take full care of women with the bounties which God has bestowed more abundantly on the former than on the latter, and with what they may spend out of their possessions. And the righteous women are the truly devout ones, who guard the intimacy which God has ordained to be guarded. And for those women whose ill will you have reason to fear, admonish them first, then leave them alone in bed, then beat them. And if thereupon you pay heed, do not seek to harm them. Behold, God is indeed most high great. Anything that is in some kind of bracket has been added by the translator. If it's not in the Arabic, then we'll ignore it because the Arabic Quran is the real Quran. So let's focus on this. What is the third command for dealing with a woman whose ill will you have reason to fear? This translation says beat them. Is the Arabic so clear and decisive though? Let's take a look at some other translations to see. Of the 36 translations, 15 say to beat your wife. That's 42%. That's less than 50, so let's look at the other options. 5 translations say to strike your wife. 2 say to hit your wife. 1 says to spank your wife. 1 says to scourge your wife. 1 says to apply force to your wife. It says a minimum of force, but the word minimum is not in the Arabic text. There are no further instructions. Further, 2 translations...
Why'd you rudely add those sound effects?
I just, you just gotta appeal to people's emotions a little bit there, and so, I mean, it's a minimum amount of force, so it really should feel like a flicking sound against their ear or something like that, right? And so I guess they're going to want to say that the minimum amount of force is going to come from some hadith or something. But if they want to go to the hadith and go, no, like the hadiths are clear, it's a minimum amount of force, then let's just talk about the lady with the green skin and Aisha saying that women are treated terribly in Islam and they suffer more than any other women. And let's talk about Muhammad punching her in the chest and Bukhari hitting her and all kinds of other stuff too.
Yeah. If you make it before I do, you can make it. But I was planning on responding to, who was it? Lily J. I'm saying that because
ChatGPT.
Yeah. I've seen that because you've made some responses to Lily J.
Yeah.
And it's fun responding to Lily J because it's super easy because she says the dumbest stuff. There's no preparation required because it's stuff that we were refuting 15 years ago over and over again before the Dawa guys gave up on those arguments. But then Lily J's bringing it back. She's bringing back the same stupid arguments. But
she had a scientific miracle one today.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I messaged Inspiring Philosophy. I was like, dude, she makes it too easy not to respond with these using the same arguments that, we destroyed in debates years ago. But what was that one? Oh yeah, she was saying something about women's rights in Islam and Islam treats women better and stuff. And I just wanted to title it like Lily J versus Aisha on women in Islam. And so Lily J says, no, women have it better. And then, Aisha, the mother of the faithful, Muhammad's wife, she says Muslim women are treated worse than pagan women, than any other women in the world. So who do we believe? You could kind of flip it back to her. Lily J, tell us and tell your audience, who is a greater authority on women in Islam? You or the mother of the faithful? Tell us. We'd love to know because I'd like to see if her narcissism takes over. Well, I am.
Yeah, she said like none of his marriages were about lust in that video, and I was just like, Lily, like you really, this isn't slow pitch softball now. You're just sticking it on the tee. Like, do we need to go through the scraping of the semen and all that other stuff? Like, why, how are these not about lust? Like, no, I just took my adopted son's wife because, wasn't about lust at all. I just needed to abolish adoption.
Yeah, I saw her practically naked. And that's when it really occurred to Allah that he needs to abolish adoption. And then everyone told me how hot Sophia was. And I was like, oh, truly, she must be a noble woman whose husband we just tortured and killed.
I don't know what's going on, man. It's a sad state of Dawa.
Wild stuff.
Say to discipline or chastise your wife with no further instructions in the Quran, the method seems up to you. We can count those as consistent with beating. That's a total of 27 out of 36 translations, or 75%, that say to beat, scourge, beat, discipline, hit, beat, strike, beat, beat, strike, hit, beat, beat, chastise, spank, apply force, beat your wife. If they were all like this, then the command of the Quran would be clear and decisive about beating your wife. To be clear, there are no further instructions about how to beat your wife. There's nothing.
Yeah, I have to point out, I mean, we could check out the clip if we wanted to. We probably won't. But hijab in the famous video where he was explaining that if you're a Quran-only Muslim and you don't have the hadith to at least suggest that you might want to pause consummating the marriage with a child bride. In that video, he was saying that if you just go with the Quran, you'll conclude that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. You go to the hadith and say, okay, Muhammad waited a couple extra years for something. So what's he waiting for? And he even clarifies, he says, not puberty. There's no requirement for puberty. So, but in that same video, he's pointing out that the word for strike here, or beat, is the same word that's used in other contexts as like striking at the necks of the unbelievers. So he said, if you don't go outside the Quran to give you some regulations on this, you'd conclude you can chop your wife's head off for being disobedient to you. And so this is like, it's hijab. I mean, keep in mind, you can make a follow-up to this talking about how Muhammad hijab agrees with you completely, right? Because what's hijab saying? The Quran is hopelessly unclear. You have to go outside of the Quran to get something that makes sense of these verses. And so it's like, it's just amazing because when he says it, it's as good as gold. When you say it, you'll be an enemy of Islam. How dare you say this? You guys are saying exactly the same thing. The Quran is not clear.
I did have a Muslim say this is a Quranist argument, or like this is an argument against Quranism. I'm like, and then he tried to quote that hadith, and I'm like, but what about these other 5 hadith that we just kind of already mentioned? And so that's not really making it a whole lot better. But yeah, I get what you're saying stuff. There.
So thank you for the cosign, Muhammad Hijab. Thank you for the cosign on this entire video and argument.
The Arabic about a last resort, or gently, or not in their faces, or even if necessary, or with a toothbrush. It just says beat your wife. However, they don't all agree that you should beat your wife.
That the toothbrush I had to throw in there, so
I'm looking at your emoji with the black eye. I didn't notice it when I saw it the first time.
Oh, okay.
7 translations say that you should separate, turn away, go away from them, depart, or withdraw. That's very different. By a strange coincidence, all 7 translations were created in the 21st century. One translation says to keep admonishing your wife, which means only to use words. That's very different.
Yeah, you're beating her with words.
That's right.
Ahmed Ali says, go to bed with him. That seems like wishful thinking. Nice try, Ahmed. So, is the Quran clear and decisive? There are 3 options. Number 1, the Quran is not clear and decisive. We don't know whether the original Arabic Quran is trying to command you to beat your wife, or to separate from her, or something else. That's why the translations are so divided. So, the Quran's claim to be clear and decisive is false. Number 2, the Quran is clear and decisive. You should beat your wife if you have any reason to fear her ill will. In that case, other translations show that devout Muslims today are perfectly okay with mistranslating the Quran to make it more acceptable to 21st century audiences. Why should I trust any Muslim translation of the Quran if Muslims are perfectly okay with twisting the meaning? Number 3, the Quran is clear and decisive. You should separate from your wife if you have any reason to fear her ill will. But that creates a problem. If the Quran is clear and decisive, where did almost every translator before the 21st century get the idea that you should beat your wife? In any case, it should be clear that relying on the Quran for moral guidance is a terrible idea. If it's not clear, that's bad. And if it is clear, that's even worse.
Nice. Powerful stuff. Nice video. Nice short video. Cool.
I tend to keep
sound effects.
A lot of them short.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed that too. And that's you get a good number of views on these because it's thought. Well, it's thought that if you have short videos, you're sort of you're in a difficult spot because you're automatically going to have a short watch time. Even if people watch the entire video, it's still a short watch time if your video is 3 or 4 minutes. And so the algorithm favors the people who are keeping other people on YouTube longer. And then so the tendency over the past several years has been for people to make longer videos, going 12 to 15 minutes and things like that, or even longer. But the advantage of having a short video, you can have a significantly higher click-through rate because people are like, oh, okay, well, this video is only a couple minutes long, so you get a higher click-through rate. But also, if people really like the video they just watched, they're going to click on another one. And then, so you are keeping them on YouTube. And in other words, the algorithm also is taking into account total watch time. How long are people watching your videos, period, not just that particular video. So looks like it's working out. Looks like it's working out.
Yeah, it's, for the most part, it has. It was really going kind of wild in the summer and early fall. Then I had a run-in with Pakistan. I'm sure you've probably had a few run-ins with Pakistan.
Oh, with them blocking the video? I was like, oh, wait, did he go to Pakistan?
They started blocking videos, so I'm,
That's a badge of honor.
I wear it as one, and so, but ever since then, it feels like the juju has slowed down a little bit. So either YouTube is rejiggering their algorithm and not favoring shorter videos as much, or something. I don't know.
Or the Pakistan thing affected you, that they're like, oh, okay, he was not on our radar before, but now Pakistan has declared him Islamophobic, which, if YouTube had any testicular fortitude, they would say, wait, if Pakistan's complaining about it, it must be good, high quality stuff.
We need to promote this for it is based. Yeah. So yeah, I've kind of been somewhat suspicious, but not trying to be overly paranoid, but it just seems like ever since then, it's just not quite been the same, because it was just like, I felt like I could publish anything and it would get like at least 100,000 views. And ever since then, now it's like been a bit more of a struggle. So Pakistan, if you're listening, I'm on to you.
Yeah. You suck, Pakistan.
Yeah, you do suck.
Can you imagine like the most backwards country in the world? Massive problems in the government. Massive problems at every level of society, and yet they've got some office building somewhere filled with people who do nothing but find our videos, because those have to come from the government. It's not like a random person, and a random person in Pakistan can't complain and get your video banned in Pakistan. It has to actually come to YouTube as a legal request from the government itself. So there is some government office where they sit around watching our videos and then banning them. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny that they're watching our videos over there and then figuring out what to block.
It could have been the thumbnail where I portrayed Muhammad as the Coomer Wojak.
I don't know what that.
But
I just.
It's you saw all the different pictures. The Coomer, well, just figure it out. He has problems. Addictions, we'll just put it that way, but he's not ashamed of the addiction, and I just kind of thought Muhammad, Coomer Wojak, scraping, it all runs together.
Yeah, that is one nasty dude, man. That is one nasty dude. All right, let's take some super chats, and guys, there's a link to Testify's channel in the description box. Afterwards, I'll add links to the videos we're covering. I didn't have time to do it right before we were starting, but there's a link to his channel in the description box. Definitely want to follow Testify. Go back through. We're gonna watch several videos, but any videos you like, be sure to share them, because we're not sure how, but since over the past several months, YouTube has become on some level aware of him, or the algorithm or something like that, possibly thanks to our good friends in Pakistan, the armpit of the universe. So yeah, check those out. First time live, thank you for all you do. Thank you, Angela. Hey, D Wood, I'm going to Germany with my college this summer. Should I bring my Quran kindling in case we go camping? I burn Quran and we proud of that. No, that would be very, very rude. I don't even know what they do over there. They arrest you in Germany? I don't know. The Germans now come after you if you just insult someone. So you can imagine what they do if you burn the Quran. Although I have to say, what are they going to do? Put you in jail for a couple days? Kind of be fun.
Make a good story.
But respect the local laws, William. See what happens. Lily J calls the fire department. Come quick, my house is on fire. Fire department, we're coming. How do we get there? Lily J, duh, big red truck.
She has to ask ChatGPT first, though.
Now, I've only seen a couple of Lily J. I'm trying to think. The only thing where I actually watched the entire video and not just some little clip someone shared or a tweet that someone shared was Muhammad and the Bible. And it was after that I messaged AP and I'm like, I think she's pure evil now, because at first I was just thinking she's a dope or a grifter and so on. But after that, and you're like obviously lying about Jesus and obviously lying about the Holy Spirit and obviously lying about all this, it's like, okay, you got some serious problems here. You are deliberately throwing people off the actual meaning of a clear meaning of a passage. And so that's messed up.
It's really weird. I don't even want to guess what's going on over there. It's like she's obviously manipulating ChatGPT to just say whatever. What is mind-boggling to me is just the amount of simps in her comment section who are just like, Lily J, you're beautiful and you speak the truth from Allah. It's just like, okay, like how stupid can you guys be? Like,
and it's here's what sucks. So any grifters will look at that and go, oh, this is a community I can definitely take advantage of. So, and Andrew Tate saw that, Sneeko saw that, Lily J saw that. What's wild is that other people are going to catch on, and eventually a bunch of people are going to be doing it. But more people are going to be doing it. And so you wonder if it's going to lose its effectiveness if too many people are doing the exact same thing. Oh, look, I found it powerful. Oh my goodness, I'm a non-Muslim, but look at this powerful argument for Islam. Whoa, these are the scientific miracles. Oh my goodness, should I convert? Let me know on Patreon.
Yeah, I don't know. And you don't want to get in too deep, because then you do have people like Sneeko who it seems like they're kind of like, yeah, you're in now, buddy, and there's no getting out.
You're in trouble if you...
You join the Bloods, bud. And the only way out is
blood in,
dying.
blood out.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see here. Griffin here says, you can tell how good Testify's videos are based on how mad Mohammedans get in the comments. Do they get mad at you?
Oh, yeah. I get called an Islamophobe and why are you disrespecting religion? I still get like the weird Christians that are like, oh, why are you so mean? And it's like,
oh, really? They're still around?
I don't know how to... They're still around, yeah. Because I've heard you talk about them like in the past. They
gave up on me. It's rare for them to come at me like that anymore. And people, so you've heard me mention this before, but yeah, if you go back like 2010, 2000, that was standard. That was not, oh, hey, now there's a Christian complaining about me. It was Christians in general are complaining that this is wrong, and it's actually. The people who would support it, the Christians who would support it were usually like Christians from Pakistan or Christians from Egypt or something who understand the cultural differences and so on. But yeah, over time, Christians just realized, because they kept saying the exact same thing, you catch more flies with honey than this and stuff. And they just saw over time, here's all the channels that are nicely, calmly, gently, lovingly, just presenting the gospel and never criticizing Muhammad, never making fun of the Quran, never doing any of that stuff. And they're looking at it going, this doesn't seem to make a big difference with Muslims. But the channels where Muslims are leaving Islam left and right are these ones that are blasting away at the foundations of Islam. And it was just that was just because when I was hearing that back in the day, this isn't how you do it. I was like, everything in my experience tells me this is what works. That this is what gets Muslims to doubt their religion. Everything. And when I was thinking about the ex-Muslims I know, it was like probably 95% of the ex-Muslims I know only considered leaving Islam and only considered the gospel after having all their claims and beliefs about Muhammad and the Quran just destroyed in front of them. And it was what Christians were saying, don't do. So the one thing we know is most effective. Christians across the board were saying, do not under any circumstances do that. That is bad. It's wild stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I don't get too many of them, but I would still get enough, and I'm like, are those like the holdovers that like they think they couldn't persuade David, so now they'll try and persuade me or something? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like if someone has a method of reaching Muslims that is significantly more effective than the way we're doing it, by all means, please do it. But like go out and do it and set an example and show us that it works, and then come say, look, you giant idiots, look, just 20,000 Muslims just left Islam after this powerful presentation I just get. I'll listen. What I'm not inclined to listen to is someone who comes along and just says something and I've never heard of the person, and I have no and what he says completely goes against everything I know from experience. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. So some Mohammedans get a little salty in the comments, eh?
They do get salty.
And then they say, Pakistan, will you please block him for us?
They do. I'm sure I have got some people that are like, I reported this, and I'm like, why'd you leave a comment then? Like, you left a comment that you've reported me for hate speech about a religion you apparently can't defend. And you're like, YouTube, please help me. I hate your disgusting values, but please save me here.
Shannon here says, I'm getting ready to go over the Islamic dilemma with a Muslim friend. Do any of the hadith say anything about the Injil being corrupt? No, nothing from Muhammad. There is one from Ibn Abbas that they use. But if that comes up, just say, hey, on what planet can Ibn Abbas trump Muhammad and Allah? Because even Muhammad in Jami at-Tirmidhi says Jews and Christians have the Torah and the gospel. So you combine that with what Allah says in the Quran, and you're pretty good. And if they start going Ibn Abbas, and by the way, so two things with Ibn Abbas. One, it contradicts other claims of Ibn Abbas, because there are other claims of Ibn Abbas where Ibn Abbas says no one can change any of Allah's scriptures, and so there'd be a contradiction there. But two, on what planet can some later Muslim overrule Allah, right? Allah from all eternity. Doesn't work.
You have Warwick copying the Gospels in the Hadiths. You don't have anything. You have Muhammad basically stealing Matthew 25 in the Hadiths, and that's pretty wild stuff. So.
Yeah. I have, matter of fact, I have a video. It's called 5 Times Muhammad Plagiarized the New Testament. Even steals from the Apostle Paul. And so definitely a plagiarist. But yeah, Shannon, good you're using that. Good to see lots of people using that. We're going to see Testify here on the Islamic dilemma here. And awesome that people are using this so regularly, because there were a few of us using it for years trying to convince Christians how powerful it is. And these things take time. So just so everyone knows, very encouraging to see everyone using an argument. And I've been saying for probably 13 or 14 years, maybe longer, that if I could change anything, if I got a divine message saying, David, you can only change one thing before you die in the world of apologetics, pick it. It would be getting Christians to know what the Quran says about the Bible. That would be my number one pick for anything I could do. Let's see. Crunchy, like what Aisha scrape off Momo's robes. Very, very rude and insulting. This is a friendly. The Islamic holy book is infected by mad Cowran disease. Mad Cowran. Check out the times Allah and his angels pray, such as 3356. The many ways they try to break apart what Allah does and the angels do, it's actually hilarious. Yeah, because it's Allah and his angels do this, and they'll try to say, oh, but even though it's the same word, it's two totally different things. It is pretty hilarious. Can you recommend a site or book that can give you a systematic approach to open-air preach against Jehovah's Witnesses? I am reading The Incarnate Christ and His Critics. I feel called to this. Thanks either way. Be blessed. Do you have any thoughts on that? I don't know what your background is. In
open-air preaching? I haven't done a whole lot of open-air preaching. Maybe like a little bit, but mostly to like homeless people 20 years ago. But JW's Incarnate Christ and His Critics by Bowman. From what I hear, that's a good book. It's on my wish list. It's just kind of a more scholarly version of putting Jesus in his place, which is more of a pop level with Ed Komoszewski. I mean, Ron Rhodes has some pretty good, just standard street level kind of stuff that just deals with more than just the deity of Christ issues. It deals with all the other weird JW beliefs about, holidays and blood transfusions and watchtower issues and all kinds of other stuff that are probably worthwhile. I think it's called Reasoning with the Scriptures with Jehovah's Witnesses. If you're going to be doing open air preaching, you're going to want to have a lot of those street level arguments in your toolbox. That book that you're reading right now is, from what I understand, is fantastic. That's why I'm planning on getting it here. But that's an academic
not really
book.
street level. Yeah, not really street level stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so Sean, I don't really have a background street preaching, dealing with Jehovah's Witnesses. So I'd look for a book from someone who does that, and it's the people who've been through it long enough. They can tell you exactly what's going to come up, and so they'll give you the street level stuff, right? Mm. Like these are the things that come up most frequently, and these are the things that really work most successfully. Whereas the Incarnate Christ and his critics goes into tons of detail going through why the Jehovah's Witnesses position on the deity of Christ and so on is wrong and so on. That would be more like if you're having a sit down discussion afterwards. So you got your street level stuff. That's like you got to be quick and it's got to be sound bites and there's not a ton of deep analysis. But if you're on the street and you're having an argument and then it's, hey, why don't we go hang out and have some coffee and then get through, look through these passages more deeply. That's where that would come in. But the advantage there is if you learn that material, there's no catching you off guard or something like that. You've been through all the major passages and all their main claims and stuff. But let's see, Stefan here, proclaim the Shahada. I testify. Yeshua is my God. Yeah. Why'd you pick the name Testify?
Well, my channel initially, as it started out, and it's still going to be this way, is more positive apologetics. This is more polemics, obviously, but I'm like a evidentialist. I think you're friends with. We have a mutual friend, Jonathan McClatchy. Me and Jonathan think a lot alike in terms of reliability of the Gospels and those kind of issues, and so a lot of my channel was focused on that. The reason why I got interested in Islam is I kept making video after video after video of that, and I thought I just need to try something different. And so I looked into Islam, and the more I looked into it, I was like, man, I feel like I've stared into the eye of Satan's butthole here, and more needs to be said about this. And if I could make some short, punchy kind of things from a different approach and kind of more of a, I don't know, just kind of a different kind of presentation, then hopefully it makes a difference. Because once I just learned, the more I learned about Islam, the more I felt like when I first got into like pro-life apologetics, I felt like the same way about Islam as I feel about Planned Parenthood. It's like, this is an evil thing that needs more people getting the word out that, you need to stay away from Islam. So,
yeah, that's one of the main reasons I stuck with dealing with Islam, because at first I was only dealing with Islam because my best friend is a Muslim. I didn't care about Islam. And then I stuck with it. And part of it was seeing the stand that he took and seeing that Muslims can make really cool Christians, mainly because of all the stuff, of how difficult it is for them to apostatize and then become Christians. It takes a lot. So it makes them kind of more serious Christians, like, because they're, you're already having to sacrifice to become a Christian. So that's cool. But the other part of it was, even though I was more interested in dealing with atheist objections and so on, because that's my background, it was like, gosh, everyone in apologetics deals with atheism. There's like three people dealing with Islam. And fortunately now that's changed. Fortunately now we got tons of people dealing with Islam. So these are good times, ladies and gentlemen, good times. Who was that? Shout out to Fisherman's Corner for gifting Apologetics Roadshow memberships. Everyone be sure to thank him for that membership. Let's see. Oops. Lord Ezra has been preserved perfectly until this day. Ezra stands above all, 900 years tall. There are no versions, no kirats. Ezra is greater than 3. This is powerful stuff. Don't be dissing Pakistan. That is my main audience. It's from GoatHub.
It's the oh wow, okay.
What's sad is if there was actually this GoatHub site that's actually true. Pakistan leads the world in weird animal porn stuff. I'm Northern California. There are lots of Jehovah's Witnesses in my town. Yeah, it's actually interesting because we lived in New York for like 13 years, and at first there were Jehovah's Witnesses around, and then less and less and less, and then they were like, I think they were closing their Kingdom Hall there or something like that. But anyway, it doesn't seem like it's got the momentum it used to have. We are the Ummah. You will be assimilated. Your uniqueness will be added to our collective. Resistance is futile. Mike Winger's fans here.
Powerful.
Given increased apostasy rate versus birth rates, do you see Islam falling before Europe is taken over? Your thoughts on that? Given increased apostasy rate versus, so historically, ladies and gentlemen, Islam. When you heard that Islam is the fastest growing religion, the same study said why, and it's that Muslims have massively higher birth rates than other groups, like way, way, way higher than like atheists and agnostics and so on. And it was true everywhere. Like even though Muslim birth rates in different countries vary, wherever the region was, they still had higher birth rates than any of the non-Muslim groups everywhere. And so back then it was just like, hey, it's a matter of time that they're reproducing way faster than you, and therefore they're eventually going to outnumber you. But in recent years, the apostasy rates have been dramatically increasing. So what you're talking about here, Tesbot, is at what point do the apostasy rates completely overwhelm the higher birth rates? I haven't seen enough recent, because the number we saw several years ago was that 24% of Muslim youth are leaving Islam. But that was accelerating. So it'd be interesting seeing more recent. It'll be interesting when new data come out on the apostasy rates. But that's what you're looking forward to. As far as Europe, it's up to Europe. All Europe has to do at any point is quit being a bunch of freaking morons, and they'll be fine.
Just gonna have a bunch of former iPad babies named Muhammad who are atheists in Britain 20 years from now, like, or hopefully Christians, hopefully not that trend. Britain needs revival big time, and we need to pray. But yeah, it would be kind of weird to just see a bunch of Christians or atheists named Muhammad 20 years from now.
It'd be kind of, I have to say, now that you put it like that, that would be kind of cool, right? Like, hey, I'm Muhammad. Hey, we have 7 Muhammads in our church.
Yeah.
Be cool. Glad to see Testify on here. It was actually through his videos that I started to dive into Islam. Then the algorithm guided me to AP and David. Thank you all for bringing me back to reason. Wow.
I like to hear that.
People are like, who are D. Wood and AP? I like this Testify. This guy's really blasting away at Islam. Oh, now the algorithm knows I like these videos. Hey, there's some guy named AP here. That's interesting.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
That'd be cool if you became the most popular of all the critics of Islam.
Maybe, I don't know. God Logic, he's on the way.
No, I'm saying
he's
do
way
it.
ahead of me.
Like be way over the top so that everyone who wants to murder someone like thinks of you. And
think of me. Yeah. I've only got one death threat, and it was a guy who tagged me in a video.
What? Those are amateur numbers.
And he said he tagged me in a video, and it was a Roblox character getting carved up with some guy with the samurai sword carving up another Roblox character, and they put on the Roblox character getting killed Testify. So I just reported it. And
hey, just so
got threatened by a 12-year-old. So
just so you know, when I say those are amateur numbers, that the algorithm has changed in recent years. I can guarantee you've gotten significantly more death threats, but the algorithm filters them out. It looks for combinations of words that are considered threats, and it takes them down as soon as people post them. So I used to get piles of death threats. I could make videos every day if I wanted back in the day of just the death threats I got on some particular day. I
Well,
would,
it
I
is
would,
funny
kind,
that
I would
you-
kind of occasionally do it, but yeah, now I get almost none, and I know they're still sending them. It's just the algorithm blocks them. Kind of sucks. It's like
funny
if a guy wants to kill me, I kind of like to know about it. YouTube, it's like don't
Yeah.
help him keep his secret.
Well, it's kind of funny because now that brings new meaning to when I get these other comments are like, why do you keep deleting my comments? And it's like, I'm not deleting your comments, Abdul. Like I don't know. Like maybe what are you saying in those comments? Are you threatening me in those comments?
All I said is I will slaughter you in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Idea for you guys: make fancy tracks with the top arguments against Islam with QR codes to your videos. Would be awesome to hand out here in Europe to Muslims. That is a good idea. I even have tracks that I made back in the day for handing out at like the Dearborn Arab Festival and stuff like that. But yeah, I wasn't thinking in terms of QR codes and stuff like that because that was before that time.
Yeah, good idea. I like it. I like it a lot.
But yeah, linking to the videos were cool. That was I don't know if you ever heard this, but it was funny because we used to go to the Dearborn Arab Festival. It would be like tens of thousands of people gathered there and stuff, and we'd go hand out tracts, and we'd hand out gospel tracts and stuff at the Dearborn Arab Festival. By the end of the festival, all these tracts are all over the ground, right? They're just like the ground is covered because you'd hand it to them, somebody'd walk and we'd just throw it on the ground, right? And so the ground is covered in tracts, and then we would want to clean up the tracks because it was our
Pay
stuff.
money for those.
And then,
Although I don't know if go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. So then I started making tracks, and I would have a Quran verse in Arabic on the front, an Arabic and English, whatever like the topic was. Like if it's talking about Jesus, I'd quote like Surah 4 verse 157, or if it's something where I'm going to use the Islamic dilemma, I quote a verse, 547 or something like this. And then at the bottom would say, this pamphlet includes quotations from the Quran in English and Arabic. Please do not dispose of it improperly. Right?
There you go. It's kind of like
there were none on the ground after. There were none on the ground after that, and it was funny because Muslims would get it, and then they would look at it, and they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They can't throw this in the garbage. They can't throw it on the ground. They can't throw it in the garbage because it's got a warning about not disposing of it improperly because it contains the Quran in Arabic. And so they either have to take it home and then ultimately ask their imam how they can get rid of it, or they would try to give it back and we're like, no, that's for you. That's for you. We don't want it back. We don't want it back. We don't want it back. So those are good times. Yeah. You toss in a QR code to some videos in there, man.
Although I'd be like afraid, like they click on a QR code and then they have me with the Quran with the googly eyes or the Muhammad Kumar Wojak, and they might be like, what is this?
So it's a risk. That's a risk I'm willing to take. How do I reason with someone who sees the Quran as absolute truth and dismisses any part of the Bible that contradicts Islam as corrupted? You use the Islamic dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you show him that his book, if his book is absolute truth, then our book is absolute truth, and he can't dismiss our book as absolute truth, because to dismiss our book as absolute truth would mean that the Quran is wrong. And it can't be wrong if it's the absolute truth. So, yeah, learn the Islamic dilemma. Bridget from AZ is a good site about Jehovah's Witnesses. Bo Rudder says that. Second question, how do you address or debate Muslims that are friends with church missionaries that claim we serve the same God? Directly disarm their lies. What do you think about that?
About worshiping the same God? I mean, at that point...
Yeah, if you're talking to a Muslim and you're like, hey, you need to follow Jesus. And he's like, no, I have missionary friends and they say we all serve the same God.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you have to point out that the Muslims don't think that you're serving the same God. They think that you worship 3 different gods. And the Quran doesn't even understand what the Trinity is in the first place. It mischaracterizes it. And so, I guess, yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can address that. And so, it's just like, where would I pick? I don't know.
Yeah, if I were in that situation, if I was talking to a Muslim and he says, I have church missionary friends and they say we serve the same God. And
missionary friends are saying that. Okay, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, so
what
so
church
yeah,
are these people from?
you're talking to a Muslim, and the Muslim is friends with church missionaries, and these missionaries tell him that we serve the same God. Sean, I would just start asking this Muslim questions. I would say, do you agree with that? You agree we serve the same God? And if the Muslim says yes, and say, okay, so I believe that God became incarnate as Jesus of Nazareth. So we believe in the same God. I believe God has commanded me to love my enemies. Do you agree with that? I believe God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Do you agree that we believe in the same God? Because if so, we're good, man. We're good. Matter of fact, my Muslim friend, if you and I believe in the same God, and you believe the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and the divine Son entered creation as Jesus of Nazareth to die on the cross for sins and rise from the dead, dude, we're good as gold. But you're a Christian. Is that the case? So, yeah, I just asked some questions along those lines. Because at the end of the day, your Muslim friend has to deny that you guys are following the same God if you actually lay out what you believe about God. Let's see. Thoughts on 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 14 to 15. Can it be used to compare Satan to Gabriel when Muhammad is in the cave? Yes. Love you guys and the work you do. Yes, that's something you want to bring up.
Different gospel, different spirit.
Yeah, and I mean, think about the Apostle Paul. So Muhammad claimed to get revelations. Paul claimed to get revelations. So who should we trust here? They're both guys claiming to have received revelations and so on. And the Apostle Paul, at least, would acknowledge that revelations might not necessarily come from God. Something else could be giving you revelations, making you think those are revelations from God. So what do? Well, Paul went and tested his. He went to the apostles and said, hey, does this line up with what you guys have been teaching?
Right. Paul also had miracles, and they're not miracles that were reported or written down or collected over 100, 200 years later. Like we have the miracles of Muhammad in the Hadith. We have a lot of, I'd say, pretty well attested miracles. I mean, Paul claims to have worked miracles in 2 Corinthians 12. Galatians, we see a little bit of that too, in 1 Corinthians 2, 1 through 5. And then when you look at the book of Acts, it's written by somebody who was a companion of the Apostle Paul and was willing to suffer along with the Apostle Paul, and is reporting that Paul is raising crippled people. His handkerchiefs are healing people and different things like that. I would also trust Paul's sincerity way over Muhammad's sincerity, since his character is completely different. Paul's celibate. He doesn't want money. He's working with his hands for a living, versus Muhammad, who's a caravan robber marrying 9-year-olds and multiple women and doing all the crazy stuff that we know Muhammad did. So and he was accepted by the apostles, who the Quran says were made uppermost. So there you go.
Indeed. Let's see. How do I convince a Muslim Jesus is God when they laugh at evidence, call it corrupted, or cite verses denying it?
Go back to that Islamic dilemma again. It's the same answer we gave you the last time, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are laughing at and calling corrupted verses that your God and your prophet affirm as the divine speech of Allah. Is this how you guys are taught to act in Islam? In Islam, you guys are taught to mock the words of Jesus. Why do you claim you respect Jesus when I quote you the words of Jesus and you mock them? Something along those lines.
Indeed.
To my benefit, Christian homeschooler birth rates exceed Muslims in the U.S. To my benefit, Christian homeschooler birth rates exceed Muslims in the U.S.
I am a Christian homeschooler, and we have 5 kids and another one on the way. So
Christian homeschoolers do have high birth rates.
We're at home, so we don't have. We're not as busy. I'm just kidding. That was terrible.
D-Wood, what's your best arguments against Hebrew Israelites? There are a good number of them at my college, and they seem to be growing. You shouldn't be asking me about that. I mean, Usually you can just read the passages they're talking about and they have no clue. I mean, they're using some insane interpretations of some passages. But that's actually to their advantage because the vast majority of people that they're yelling at are completely unfamiliar with these passages. And so these guys can kind of say whatever they want about them and so on. But yeah, Elride, you should be talking to Vocab and maybe even get Vocab to come for a visit and talk to your guys, talk to those guys at your college. He'd do it.
Absolutely.
He'd do it. And he's like, he'd be 10,000 times better than me.
Yep.
Let's see. Keep exposing the madness. Dr. Wood, you rock. That's true. Allah's battle. Step 1. Allah's battle plan. Step 1, strike rocks. Check. Step 2, strike cows. 273. 3, strike women's veils. That's true. That's true. Step 4, strike necks and fingers. Seems like somebody got their priorities mixed up. Yes. No, Allah's priorities are always perfect. They're always perfect.
Yeah. Perfect
Awesome.
example.
Thank you, Aisha's Goat. We got more super chats, but we want to check out more videos as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it. What video you want to check out next?
There's one. It's called "This Question Leaves Muslims Speechless." I can send it to you in the chat.
I got it right
quick.
here. I have them all here.
You got it?
I have them all
You got
here.
it queued up?
Yeah.
Gideon?
So this one is called "This One Question Leaves Muslims Speechless." That's the video you want, right?
Yeah, it's pretty short. It's only 3 minutes.
Okay, so guys, I've seen one Testify video, and it was funny, and again made me want to watch more. And then I said something live the other day, and then so anyway, here we are. Now we got Testify on with us to check out some of these videos. But I have not seen this. So let's see what we got here. This one question leaves Muslims speechless.
Muslims, I'm back with another challenge. From pre-Islamic sources, name someone who lived between 40 AD and 600 AD who you consider to be a true follower of Jesus. No excuses. Don't say Islam believes or the Quran says. I need a name and a pre-Islamic historical source. Go. Prediction. You can't, and that's a big problem for you. In Quran 3:55 it says, Allah said, O Jesus, indeed I will take you and raise you to myself, and purify you from those who disbelieve, and make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve until the day of resurrection. Allah promised Jesus that his followers would be superior. Quran 61:14 says that they will be dominant. If these verses are true, then the challenge should be super easy. If the true followers of Jesus are superior and dominant, then you have more than 5 centuries to find one. Then providing a name and a historical source should be simple. Just write them in the comments below, and the challenge is completed. To be clear, I'm not asking you to find people who call themselves Muslims or who believed everything that Muhammad taught. He comes later. That's fine. I just want a historical, pre-Islamic source that names one person about whom you can say, that's a true follower of Jesus. Here's the awkward truth. There is no one. Here's why. Most of the world hasn't heard about Jesus by then. Orthodox Christians worship Jesus as the divine Son of God. Non-Orthodox Christians include Gnostics, who claim the world's creator, Allah, is evil, and Arians, who deny Jesus' deity, but still call him God's special son and affirm his crucifixion. Jews, unless they are Christians, don't follow Jesus. They rejected Jesus as a prophet. Zoroastrians don't follow Jesus. They follow Zoroaster. And the Hanufa are only mentioned in later Islamic sources and are said to follow Abraham, not Jesus. That is, they did not learn about Allah from Jesus, but from Abraham. The Ebionites, a small sect from the 2nd century, are probably Gnostics and probably didn't believe in the virgin birth of Jesus. We only know about them from the writings of other Christians. The other religions in the region where Jesus were known polytheists, believing in many gods. And that is it. That's everyone. Among all those groups, there is no one who a Muslim can call a true follower of Jesus, which means that Islam has failed the challenge. If you disagree, give a name and an actual source. If there is no one, there are only 2 possible conclusions. Number 1, the Quran is wrong. It says that Allah promised Jesus that his followers would be dominant, yet there's not even a single person that we can find in 5 centuries after Jesus. So you should reject the Quran, or 2, the Quran is correct.
and the true followers of Jesus are the ones who became dominant. By the time of Muhammad, there were 20 million Christians in the world. Christians are the superior, dominant followers of Jesus. So if you believe the Quran, you must believe that Christians are the true followers of Jesus. Allah made us uppermost. Take a hint. Follow Jesus.
Nice, nice, nice.
It's the proof.
Did y'all get that? So he quoted Surah 3, verse 55. 61:14 also works in that situation. But you've got the Quran affirming that God helped the true followers of Jesus, and he helped them become uppermost. And he said he would help them until the day of resurrection. He's going to protect the true followers of Jesus until the day of resurrection. And so Jesus wasn't just completely unsuccessful. Jesus won a number of followers, and they were Muslims. And then Allah helped them until they became uppermost over those who rejected them. And Testify just points out, okay, well, if that's the case, if the true followers of Jesus were Muslims and they became uppermost, then you should be able to find one somewhere, right? Find one. First century, second century, third century, fourth century, fifth century, sixth century, somewhere in there. Find one. Can you find us one? One person. They became uppermost. They became dominant. They became strong. Where are they? And if you can't even find one, then the only group we can point to and say, okay, these became uppermost are just Orthodox Christians. In which case, Orthodox Christians are the true followers of Jesus.
There you go. Yeah. So I got some response on that one, and it was really bad. And so a lot of them wanted to be like, well, the Ebionites. And it's like, okay, so what we know about the Ebionites is they actually some of them had like Gnostic beliefs. They thought if we follow the law, then we can become little Christs. They also thought that like the Christ was something that descended upon Jesus at his baptism and then left him on the cross. So they still accept the crucifixion. A lot of them, according to different Christian writers who talked about him, said that they denied the virgin birth, although some affirmed it. And so you're going to say, like, even if there was like a handful of them, that's not dominant. That's not superior to the day of resurrection. And then the people that tried to argue that were like, well, no, the superior just means like some sort of spiritual superiority. And it's like,
not according to Muslims.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Like, no, it is not. Like,
no. Yusuf Ali in his commentary says that it clearly refers to Christians taking over the Roman Empire, because that's when Christians became uppermost.
Yeah.
So he's not thinking, oh, this is just some spiritual sense of uppermost. Like, imagine it's just saying, Allah helped them and they became uppermost and got completely crushed and wiped out, and they don't even exist anymore. Yeah. But they were spiritually very strong.
Yeah. So if that's the best that you can do as a rebuttal, that's pretty bad. I actually went on EF Dawa, because you know how they do the call-in stuff like God Logic and Sam and whatnot, and they didn't have a good response to this at all. They basically said I was making an argument from silence, and I'm like, I had to show them that, like, okay, there is a weak argument from silence, and so if I look in my room and I say, well, I don't see any spiders in my room, therefore there's not a spider in my room, you'd be like, well, that's pretty weak, because we know that spiders are small and they're good at hiding, right? Mm-hmm. But if I say there's no elephant in my room because I've looked and there's no elephant in my room, that's a strong argument from silence, because that's an absence of evidence. And I'm like, your Quran creates this expectation, dude, that we should see a dominant following, and you have nothing in history at all of one true follower of Jesus. Like, that's pathetic. Mm-hmm. Like, this is Loserville. You have no evidence. This is as bad as like Joseph Smith talking about, tribes of Lamanites and different stuff that we have absolutely no. It's probably worse because like they could always punt to like, well, maybe they were in some uninhabited weird place in South America and we just haven't dug up everything. But like we know about all kinds of groups. We know about dozens of different Gnostic groups. We know about dozens of different Christian groups, sub-Christian groups like Sabellians and Arians and different things like that. We know about all kinds of different Jewish groups like Zealots and Pharisees and Essenes and Sadducees. And I could go on and on and on. All kinds of different pagan groups, followers of Mithras and all this other stuff, and different cults that they were into. But you guys have like zero, nothing, bupkis. You're clutching onto maybe this small group of Ebionites that might fit and still accept the crucifixion of Jesus. What are we doing at this point? And so for me, as somebody, like I said, who thinks kind of in evidentialist kind of terms, like there is an astonishing absence of evidence right here that's just completely damning, in my opinion.
And it is. If the Quran had been making claims about, hey, Jesus had 2 devout Muslim followers, and then and then everything else was corrupted, and then the corrupted version overpowered those 2 devout followers. Okay, what kind of evidence are you going to be able to find for this? It would make sense to say, okay, well, we're not expecting a ton of evidence because there wasn't a lot of them. The Quran is saying that Allah is helping them until they become uppermost, and He's protecting them until the day of resurrection. That's a strong group that lasts a long time. If you can't find, if the Quran, so the Quran is making a prediction here. The Quran is making a prediction about what you will find. You're going to find a group that became a group of Jesus followers that became dominant, and they're going to be dominant until the day of resurrection. So big group, long time. You should be able to find one of these guys. And if you can't find one of them, on what planet did this group become dominant, and on what planet is Allah protecting them until the day of resurrection? Doesn't make sense. And that's the thing when they say, oh, Ebionite, really? He protected the Ebionites until the day of resurrection? Really? How many Ebionites does anyone know? The Ebionites became uppermost? Come on. It doesn't. That's what I mean. It makes zero sense. Makes zero sense.
No, it makes no sense at all. Some of them try to say that, like, oh no, he's actually referring to the Muslims in 61:14, and it's like, it says a faction out of the children of Israel. Like, what?
Yeah.
How do you read that into the verse?
Mm-hmm.
Am I in crazy town right now? Like, what are we doing here, guys?
Yeah. So Muslim. This is bad, guys. This is bad. This is bad stuff. And these are the arguments. These are the arguments you should be learning and using. I've noticed, Testify, just based on your titles that I was pulling up, you like to leave people with dilemmas and trilemmas. Look, it's either this or this. Pick one. You're screwed either way. Or it's Allah's this, or this. Pick one. It's not working out for you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's just think it through. This isn't really that difficult. And it's just amazing to me, the amount of cope that I get in my comments is just like of people trying to twist the meaning of the Quran. And I'm like, dude, I'm coming to you as an outsider. You're telling me that your book is clear, and I'm just reading to you your book. Like
no, what Allah really means is the opposite of what He says.
Yeah, and they do that every single time. And it's
when He says uppermost, He means lowest of the low.
Yeah, like that we
when
don't
He
know
says
anybody.
Till the day of resurrection, He means only for 5 seconds that He's giving up.
Right. Yeah.
Weird stuff.
So it's weird. It's weird stuff. So this, to me, like, just for Christians, this should show you, like, when people are making stuff up, this is what it looks like. So because my channel focuses so much on gospel reliability and stuff like that, the more I dug into this literature, it's just like, this is what made up religion looks like, guys. Like,
it's exactly what made up stuff looks like.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah, it's like when Wes was talking about the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is filled with stuff that looks like it was made up stuff. Made up stuff. But guess what? It's exactly what the Quran looks like. It's exactly what the Quran looks like. That's why Muslims really loved the Gospel of Barnabas. It reminded them of the Quran because it also looks totally made up, which is, for them, the sign of a really good book.
Yeah, definitely. But, Muhammad had some weird, scar on his back or whatever.
Giant mole. His mole.
Yeah, the giant mole.
The
giant
of
mole.
The prophets.
The sign of the prophets. Yeah. So, I mean, it's good enough for me. I have a birthmark on my.
This is the proof.
We could.
This is the proof. All right, what video do you want to check out next?
Another one that goes right into it. There's two that flow really well into it. We'll see how far we get, but go to why Islam's Jesus is the biggest failure in history. This one's 5.5 minutes or 6 minutes.
Muslims claim that Islam.
Yep.
There we go.
Here we go.
Islam honors Jesus as one of the greatest prophets of God. But this is absolute nonsense. If Islam is true, then Jesus is the worst person who ever lived. Here's why. According to Islam, Allah has sent many prophets. They all taught one simple message. Allah is one, worship him alone, keep his laws. Jesus was the last prophet before Muhammad. He was born of a virgin and performed miracles, but never claimed to be the divine Son of God. He was sent to the Jewish nation and taught the one simple message. Like all prophets, some people believed Jesus and became his disciples. Quran 3:55 says, Allah said, O Jesus, indeed, I will take you and raise you to myself and purify you from those who disbelieve and make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve until the day of resurrection. Remember this point. Allah promised Jesus that his followers would be superior. Quran 61:14 says that they will be dominant or uppermost. Surely then, things turn out great for Jesus and the disciples, and they all lived happily ever after. The end. Except, of course, that's not true. In my last video, I talked about how in 5 centuries between Jesus and Muhammad, there is no one that a Muslim can identify as a true follower of Allah. Be sure to go back and watch it, but in a nutshell, the Jews rejected Jesus, a true prophet. The Orthodox Christians worship Jesus. The non-Orthodox Christians call the creator of the world evil, and basically everyone else is a polytheist, believing in many gods. For over 500 years, true belief in Allah disappears from the earth. Instead, this period is famous for the dramatic rise of Christianity, which worships Jesus as divine. How did this happen? Whose fault is it? Let's rewind to Jesus' time. According to Quran 4:157, Jesus only appeared to be crucified. His enemies thought that they had killed him, but they were fooled. So now we have 2 competing stories. Jesus knows that he wasn't crucified, but his enemies say that he was. Allah will make Jesus and his followers superior, right? Wrong. In every historical record, everyone in the 1st century who knows about Jesus at all believes that he was crucified. This includes Jesus' own followers. Even though Jesus was alive, he somehow failed to set the record straight. The Jesus movement, which explodes out of Judea and takes over the world, worships the crucified and risen Jesus. Jesus' disciples create, or allow someone, usually Paul according to Muslims, to create a false religion about Jesus. According to the Quran, Jesus had also been given a book, the true gospel. But according to history, his followers immediately threw this book away because there is zero trace of it anywhere. Jesus' real teachings are completely forgotten by a movement that worships him as divine. It didn't have to be this way. If Jesus had taught his followers properly, securing the one simple message, making sure that his gospel was preserved, and warning about false teachers like Paul, and perhaps casually mentioning that he wasn't crucified, Christianity wouldn't have happened. So, according to Islam, Christianity, the largest false religion that the world has ever seen, is Jesus' fault. And so, according to Islam, Jesus' failures are responsible for the rise and spread of Christianity, the largest false religion in human history. Worshipping anyone but Allah is the worst thing that a human being can do. Thus, Jesus, being responsible for the most false worship, is the worst person who ever lived. That's how Islam honors Jesus, the worst person ever. If that seems...
So, I was just doing a thumbs up, like, because you hear this all the time, like we love Jesus more than you know,
yeah.
or
we respect Jesus. We respect Jesus. Yeah, and it's but this is frequently the case in Islam. It's we honor Jesus, we respect Jesus, we love Jesus, and it's all superficial. The moment you dig like a millimeter below the surface, it's blasphemous nonsense and insults, and it's like. That's exactly what I would expect from something demonic, right? Pretend, oh, yes, This is the true religion, and this is the one that really honors Jesus and honors God. And then as soon as you dig a little bit below the surface, it's massive blasphemous nonsense. Guys, do you all understand this? Muslims, we respect Jesus. We love Jesus. Okay. If you are correct about Jesus, if you are correct about what the message that prophets are preaching, what did Jesus actually accomplish according to Islam? What did Jesus accomplish? I mean, by the time Jesus is done with his work, you've got people bowing down and worshiping him, and then you got people rejecting him. The people bowing down and worshiping him, they're all going to hell because they're guilty of shirk. The people who are rejecting him, they're going to hell too because they're all rejecting a true prophet of God.
And they threw all his true teachings just right out the window almost immediately.
Yeah. And as he pointed out, the reason these videos connect is if you want to say, oh, no, but he had true devout Muslim followers. Okay, find one ever. Show us one.
Yeah.
Give us one. You can't give us one.
One pre-Islamic source.
Yeah. If you can't find one person that would actually count as a Muslim who's actually going to Jannah, according to you, how successful was Jesus in his preaching? Everyone we actually have a record of is doomed forever. So that's what you actually teach about Jesus. And it's nothing but endless insults and him being a horrible failure and a terrible person.
Yeah. Some people were like, well, Noah didn't get a lot of converts. And so would you say Noah?
The Quran doesn't say Jesus. The Quran doesn't say Jesus was unsuccessful. The Quran says he was massively successful. He was massively successful. He won all sorts of converts and they become uppermost. Jesus won. Then when you point out, it's like, where are all these guys? Well, Noah wasn't successful. That's not what the Quran says.
I'm telling you, this is the stuff that I get in the comment section. It's fun times. I'm just like, could you just like stop, think for a second, put yourself in my shoes, and then like read your comment again, and just think about this slowly. But no, it's
wild stuff, man. Wild stuff.
It's a bit far-fetched. The Quran says exactly this in Surah 5:116. Allah will say, "O Jesus, son of Mary, did you say to the people, 'Take me and my mother as deities besides Allah?' He will say, 'Exalted are you. It was not for me to say that to which I have no right. If I said it, you would have known it.'" Picture the scene. Jesus is in heaven for 2,000 years, day after day. He's watched billions of people worship him instead of Allah. How embarrassing. The shame. He isn't honored. He's in trouble. He's called to the boss's office and asked to explain himself. "What did you do, Jesus?" Allah fumes. "Why are there 3 billion humans worshiping you instead of me?" Jesus has no answer. How could a prophet mess things up so badly? So, if you're a Muslim, don't say that you honor Jesus. No, you shame him. If Jesus is just a prophet, he has done more damage to the cause of Allah than anyone else in the history of humankind. Satan could only dream of emulating Jesus' ability to inspire false, blasphemous worship. Thankfully, though, there's good news. The Islamic Jesus never existed. Jesus' followers believe that Jesus was crucified because he actually was. They believe Jesus was raised from the dead because he actually was. They believe Jesus is actually God because he is. The argument is simple. The Quran affirms that the true followers of Jesus would be dominant. The dominant followers of Jesus worshipped him as God. Thus, the Quran affirms that the true followers of Jesus worship him as God. Muslims, if you really want to honor Jesus, then repent of Islam and embrace the real Jesus of history, the Jesus of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. If you want to learn how the Gospels are not corrupt teachings written by people who didn't even know Jesus, but rather by honest, faithful, knowledgeable witnesses, be sure to check out these 2 playlists.
There you go.
Nice. Isn't it weird? It's like always the same thing. It's always like Muslims want to be respected for doing the opposite, for being the opposite of what they are. It's like just for years, it's like, hey, we'll blow you up, we'll slaughter you in the name of Allah, we'll kill apostates, and call us the religion of peace. Like, okay, you're telling us to say the opposite of everything that you're actually doing. And then it's with all their rituals too. So, hey, look, we're gorging ourselves with food multiple times per day for an entire month. Now honor us for fasting. Honor us for fasting. And so you have things like that. And then it's like, oh, look, we're doing nothing but insulting Jesus in everything we say. Respect us for being the most loving people towards Jesus. Like, what are you talking about, man? It's like, it's seriously like they live in some demonic, opposite, bizarro world where everything is the opposite. And and it's like we all have to agree with them and say the opposite of what reality is, or they get really mad.
Yeah. They'll get in my comments and be like, well, you got to respect religion. You got to respect our religion. And I'm like, your God literally calls me the worst of creatures. So I'm worse than a dog. I'm worse than,
But in opposite world, it means you're the best. So you should thank Muslims.
Yeah. It's like, what do you want me to do? Like, your book is constantly insulting me. You guys are constantly insulting me. And then you demand respect. It just goes back to like the crazy stuff we saw with AP and Comedy Central. He's like, how dare you make an origami L, but then like he literally just did the slashy, and it's just like, dude, like what do you expect him to do? Just like thank you.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? It's no, it's seriously amazing. It's like we get to do whatever we want, and you guys have to do nothing but respect us, and we can talk about how we're gonna execute you. We could talk about how we're going to take your wives and daughters as war booty and so on. But you have to speak extremely respectfully of the prophet and the book that caused us to act like this.
Yeah.
How about no?
Like, yeah, it is bizarre world. It is weird. And like I said, the more I looked into it, like I haven't been doing this nearly as long as you guys, but like I said, it's just the more I feel like I'm just looking to the eye of Satan's bumhole. It's just like, what is this garbage bin? Why does it exist? I don't understand how thinking people can accept this, especially when I understand if you're indoctrinated or whatever, and that's all you know. But when the internet is constantly poking all the holes, and then all you can come back with is, well, actually, it just says the opposite of what you just said it is, even though you just read the verse to me. It's like, okay, like something demonic is happening here. I don't know like how else to describe it. I'm not trying to be mean, but like you're only leaving me with like certain conclusions on the table. And so it's weird stuff.
It is indeed weird, wild stuff. But it is amazing how just someone can convert to Islam today and tomorrow can be promising to execute you and simultaneously demanding respect for his book. It's like, what? How does Islam do this to you this rapidly? Like you get to be the worst, most horrible person in the world and to treat everyone else horribly. And yet everyone is supposed to treat you like you're a superior being. Like, how does Islam do this to people this quickly? It's wild. Crazy stuff. Let's check out some super chats here. My interest in Islam is due to my BFF, a Muslim too. That's actually a good situation to be in because, if you just meet someone who's a Muslim and you try to talk about Islam, they might not want to continue the conversation. If you have a friend, keep in mind, that's how I started studying Islam. Was my best friend was a Muslim. So, that's a good position to be in because then when you guys are talking, it's just easier. And Nabil and I realized this way back in the day. It's like if I'm talking to him about Muhammad and Aisha, a Muslim that I don't know might think that I hate him. He might think that I hate Muslims or something like that, and that's why I'm criticizing Muhammad. Whereas if it's your friend, okay, Nabil knew that I didn't hate him, and he knew that whatever I'm saying, whatever else we're discussing, I want what's best for him, and I don't hate him. And I knew the same about him. If he's criticizing Christianity or something, I know it's not because he hates me. He believes I'm wrong, and so he's telling me that I'm wrong because he wants me to be on the right side of these things. And so you're actually in a good position there, Aaron. You guys are so mean. Is that literally what Christianity is about while studying Sharia law? Yep. My
Be a
family
good
was
Jimmy.
my family was forced into Islam. I'm with Christ now. You need to know my story. Hope if something hits the fan, I'm going to be protected. Yep, we hope you're protected too.
Amen.
Let's see.
Don't fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul.
That's a good idea. In IP's recent live, he said most scholars believe Ezekiel 20:26 and Exodus 13:2 show Yahweh asking for children. I never thought that. Sacrifice? He's talking about his. Yeah, I haven't followed that, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what he's saying. I've heard the issue before, but yeah, nothing I've ever taken terribly seriously.
No, me neither. So I can't really speak to that. Sorry.
Let's see. I really appreciate the time. I've been covering my lamp too long, breaking the clay pot now. Be blessed. May God increase your ministries and your impact for his kingdom. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
Your body is temple of the Holy Spirit. Don't spoil it.
I like the avatar.
You got it. Oh, yeah.
Your
Your body's a temple of the Holy Spirit.
You don't.
Brother.
Don't spoil it, brother.
Eat your vitamins. Say your prayers. I remember that from when I was a little kid. It's funny because he actually had all us kids. Okay, we gotta take our vitamins. Mom, I need vitamins. Hulk Hogan says we gotta take my vitamins. Let's see. Testify. Can you steel man a YouTuber who attempt to refute any of your videos? How many have you seen that didn't contain a circular argument? To quote AP, it's what they do.
So
any good responses that you could steel man?
No, not really. They've mostly been pretty bad. And so there's two guys who've responded to my arguments. I do have a blog, is JesusAlive.com, that I just started years and years ago that I still will occasionally like type out responses, because if the response videos I have are generally from kind of smaller channels that are just not very good. And I have a few like responses there if people want to see them. So I would just refer you there. There's one guy who seems really obsessed with me, Dean Responds. And so like, if I just make a video, he's going to respond to it. But all of his arguments are just really, really bad. Chris from Speaker's Corner, who you and I both know, David, cooked him pretty bad in a debate on the Islamic dilemma on God Logic's channel. He also kind of embarrassed himself calling in on God Logic not that long ago. But he's just said like crazy stuff. Like when he tried to like defend the whole Muhammad is really the paraclete in John 14, and he's like, well, you see, like certain Christians, like Manichae, Augustine Manichae claimed to be the paraclete, and Augustine was a Christian, so therefore the paraclete can be a human being according to Augustine. And like Tertullian was a Montanist, and he believed that, Montanist said, I am the paraclete. Well, first of all, that's a bad misunderstanding of Montanism. They were just kind of saying like, thus saith the Holy Spirit. He wasn't literally, I am the human being paraclete. They were Trinitarians.
Yeah,
they were heretical, but they were Trinitarians.
And they never give the actual quotation. He said, I am the Word, I am the Father and the Word and the Paraclete. And so you have two interpretations. One, he's actually claiming to be those, or he's claiming to be the spokesman for God, right? And he's speaking as God, because God is speaking through him. And so if you actually took that seriously, he's saying that he's a man, and he's also claimed to be the Father, and he's a man. So Muslims, you want to roll with that one and say, therefore, we have to believe that the Father's a man, and that the Word is a man, and that the Paraclete is a man. Is that what you're saying? Or would we say we don't have to take what everyone says seriously?
Well, if you're punting to heretics to bolster your view, you're just another heretic in the pot of stupid heretics who thought that the paraclete could be a man. And in the case of Montanus, he's not even correct. And so he's this guy who charges people $10 a month to join his Discord so that they can learn how to misquote the church fathers. Yeah. And then in just the sampling of videos that I've watched, it's just stupidity after stupidity after stupidity of just crazy ad hoc, weird stitched together arguments that it's just really difficult for me to take him seriously. Like I've used to dealing with like atheists because I've spent a lot of time defending the reliability of the gospels and different things like that. And like, I can actually like understand some of the atheist arguments and where they're coming from. When somebody's going to come to me and be like, well, you know, Dale Allison says this. I'm not saying that Dale Allison is an atheist, but has a skeptical bent in some areas, or Bart Ehrman or some of these other, you know, Paula Fredrickson are saying X, Y, and Z about the gospels. I'm like, okay, well, I can at least kind of make sense of that. I don't think that it's correct. And here's why. X, Y, Z, here are my reasons. But these guys are just throwing like, they're just like monkeys at the zoo flinging poo at you. And just like, you coward, you run from me, you never debate. And here's a bunch of crazy reasons why your video is completely false and says the opposite thing that the Quran actually says. Because Islam is the truth. And it's just like, dude, like, I'm used to talking to people on a different wavelength, and you're like, you're lower than mythicists. You're lower than Richard Carrier people.
That's pretty bad.
In reasoning skills. It's just bad. And so I was kind of shocked by the level of stupidity that passes for Dawa. And it's like the only thing they have is Trinity complicated, incarnation complicated.
Yeah, me no
Therefore,
get. That hard to understand, so it not true.
Therefore, Islam must be true.
Which is a completely pagan mindset, right? Like,
yeah.
Like everything has to be like super simple, easy human terms, or it's not true. It's like, dude, like reality is not like that. You know, you don't say, "Oh, quantum mechanics no make sense to me, therefore quantum mechanics no true." No, you're some things are actually just more complicated than you realize.
So I'm sure my statements there are going to get some, you know, unemployed Dawa clown putting me in clown makeup and saying that I'm a doofus, but I just really don't care. I can get more done blasting away as I've been doing in these videos than taking the time to respond to a bunch of nonsense goofiness. If I took the time to respond to like Bobby's perspective, because he actually has, you know, over 100,000 subscribers and people know of him a little bit more. And so me and IP, you know, ran through his criticism of one of my videos, and it was just really like dog water bad. But at least like he has like a following that made it at least somewhat worth it, because lest maybe somebody who follows him thinks that he's making a good argument. We get to show like, no, this is completely circular and insane and revisionist and crazy. But anyway.
Would you debate Dan McKellen on the gospel relabel?
I don't think Dan McClellan does debates. I wouldn't mind having a discussion with Dan. I've responded to some of Dan's videos. I think he's wrong about a lot of stuff, but unlike a lot of these Dawa guys, I would at least say that he's at least pretty intelligent. And so I think his arguments are really bad. I've responded to him on like the pastoral epistles, for example. I think he makes some bad arguments, but he's just kind of regurgitating, you know, your standard Bart Ehrman kind of lines, you know, this is what the consensus says, blah, 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 blah. When he talks in his area of expertise, he's more knowledgeable. When he talks about the New Testament, I don't think that he's very knowledgeable. I don't even think he'd want to take that debate. I think he would rather punt to somebody who is more of a New Testament scholar, and he's not. He would admit that he's not.
It is always interesting that everyone's like, will you debate this guy? And it's like the assumption is that people are willing to debate. And like nine times out of 10, they're saying, would you debate this guy who's not going to debate?
Yeah.
It's usually people, most people are not interested in debating. So let's see. Oh, we got an interesting one coming up. Fast and invite the Holy Spirit before talking to anyone. Jesus gave us this. You will get better results. It's good to prepare spiritually. Whenever I get check out these two from Mosh Cohen here. Whenever I get you catch more flies with honey, I tell them you can fish more fish with a hand grenade too, and it's more effective. So shut up. Hey, but check this out. Yep. Mosh Cohen says, and Testify, you mind if I QR code those videos? Mosh is actually funny. He makes stickers out of videos and then puts them in Muslim areas.
If you want to, go for it, bro.
No, but I mean like in like the West Bank and stuff like that.
Oh, jeez.
And people are like, hey, what is this QR code? And they click on it. No.
Gotta increase those death threats, huh?
Oh, Mosh is funny. David, create channels in different languages will reach many. There are many options with AI.
YouTube is actually working on some stuff on that. I got a notification the other day that they're actually, because people email me all the time, like, can I translate your videos? And I'm usually like, I don't care, whatever. But YouTube's saying they're actually working on something where you could do it all through YouTube. I don't understand it all, but they're willing to use AI to translate what you're saying.
Yeah, I never understand the tech stuff. But I'll say, because Jesus Apologetics, you are welcome to take my videos and use AI to translate them however you feel. Ask subs to translate in different languages. Subs are welcome to translate in other languages. Anyone who wants to take one of my videos and translate it is welcome to do it. You can even take it. Add subtitles, put it on your own channel. You do not have to worry about me claiming copyright. I do not care. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't claim them either.
Jesus said, I ascend to my God and your God, John 20:17. How to respond to question on this? I would break down the Trinity and the Incarnation. That's always the mistake that our Muslim friends make. You say Jesus is God, and they assume you're saying that and then they proceed to act like you are a Unitarian, claiming that Jesus is God, and they proceed along those lines. And no, you have to break down Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Son enters creation as a perfect man, and guess what? So you have Father and Son. The Son, as a man, has a God. Yes, the Father. It is the Son. Just imagine if Christian theology is correct. If you're talking to a Muslim, if Christian theology is correct, and there's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Son enters creation. When the Son enters creation, is he supposed to be an atheist? Or would he continue the same relationship he's always had with the Father, but now that he is incarnate as a man, would continue that eternal relationship with the Father that he's had through prayer? So yeah, it only doesn't fit if you just ignore the theology, right? If you ignore the Trinity and the Incarnation, and then you start going through this, it doesn't really make sense. Yes, it doesn't make sense if you toss out Christian theology. In other words, it only makes
or just the rest of the passages in John where, like, he's affirmed as God at the very beginning of the chapter, and over and over and over, and he calls himself God, and then it's cherry picking because that's what they do.
Yeah. That's life. I'm so confused for simple mind like mine. Can you guys please give examples of what Jesus taught or spread that is also in Islam or in Muhammad's teachings? Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. So, examples of what Jesus taught or spread that is also in Islam or in Muhammad's teachings. Yeah, keep in mind, Muhammad was influenced by Christians. Muhammad was influenced by Christians. He was influenced by Jews. He's influenced by pagans. And he was influenced not just by Orthodox Christians and Jews and so on, but by like heretical Christians and so on, because the Emperor Justinian had expelled heretics from the Roman Empire, and many of them went to the Middle East and so on. So Muhammad was a big mixture of things. But Muhammad taught that there are things in the Quran. Very frequently, whoever's writing the Quran does not understand the implications of these things, but there are things that line up with Christianity. So the Quran says that Jesus is the word of Allah. They have no idea what that means. They have no idea about the theological implications of that. Clearly stolen from the Gospel of John. So you have that. You have Jesus performing miracles. So Jesus cleanses the lepers and even raises the dead. So that would line up with what the Bible says about Jesus. Jesus being the Messiah. According to the Quran, Jesus is the Messiah. They have no clue what it means. You can't find a Muslim who has any clue what it means for Jesus to be the Messiah. And yet you find it there. Jesus claimed that he would return again. Well, Jesus is going to return according to Islam. So there are lots of things. There are lots of things in the Muslim sources that line up with things that Jesus taught or that the Bible teaches about Jesus. But it's because Muhammad is plagiarizing things.
Indubitably.
So Allah is Satan. Certainly comes across that way. Thank you, Dr. Rick. No comment, though. Hope you all get well. Yeah, me too. I wanted to be cranking out tons of videos, but I've been sick. Why is David here? That's a good question. I wonder that myself. I know you guys have told me to use the Quranic dilemma, but my friend refutes it with Surah 279. What should I do? Oh, terrible, terrible, terrible.
I want to learn to read.
Yeah. Dr. Awesome Gamer. One, you could pull up some Muslim commentaries on Surah 2, verse 79. It does not mean what Muslims say it means today when they're trying to respond to the Islamic dilemma. Even more effectively, go to the rest of Surah 2, which over and over and over again affirms the inspiration and the preservation and the authority. 279 in context, if you wanted to apply it to Scripture, he's talking to Jews in context. So this would be the Torah. This would be the Torah. Read the rest of what Surah 2 says about the Torah. And you go Surah 2, verses 40 to 44. So before 279, no, it says Surah 2, biggest chapter in the Quran. And so 279, you go before it, Surah 2, verses 40 to 44. What's Allah say? That he's affirming what the Jews have. You can go after it, especially 285. Look, you're talking 279. Just go to Surah 2, verse 85. It's 6 verses later. Take your friend to 6 verses later. You can also go to verse 91, 101, and so on. Surah 2, verse 85 tells Jews that if they only believe in parts of their book and not all of it, Allah will send them to hell. And you ask your friend, how does it make sense for Allah to be saying that only parts of the Torah are true in verse 79? And then just 6 verses later in verse 85, he says to the Jews, if you do not believe in all of it, all of the Torah that you have, Allah is sending you to hell.
Right.
So the point is, the interpretation that your friend is giving to Surah 2, verse 79 is ruled out by the entire rest of the chapter. It can't possibly mean, unless he wants to say Allah is insane. And that's what we want to ask him. So you're telling me Allah says, hey, believe in your book, believe in every word of your book. The book that you have is as good as gold. Your book has been corrupt. Hey, believe in all of your book, believe in every word of it. If you reject even a single word of it, I'm sending you to hell. And then right in the middle of all that, he says your book's been corrupt. It makes zero sense. What 279 means, according to the early commentators, you get a couple of things. One, it said that some Jews were worried about people finding out that Muhammad's a prophet according to the Torah, so they sat down and wrote something and said, "This is a description that doesn't sound like Muhammad." And they said, "Hey, this is what the Torah says." But notice, how would that corrupt the Torah? I could sit down and write something and say, "This is what the Quran says right now," and make something up. Has that changed the Quran? No, because the Quran's all over the world. Me writing something does not change any copy of the Quran, let alone the Quran around the world. So yeah, it makes no sense. The other interpretation is that these were just Jews writing blessings, because it says write something and say it's from the book for a little gain. The other interpretation is Jews are just writing blessings from the Torah and selling them, and that's what it's condemning. But what it can't possibly mean, because it would contradict the entire rest of the Quran, is that Jews corrupted their book. Makes zero sense. Makes zero sense. Not according to Allah, not according to Muhammad.
He could have just very easily, if the Quran again is clear, said, hey, your books are basically a mixed up. You're mixing my words with your words. You're doing all this stuff. You're adding stuff. You're deleting stuff. And you're just leaving little fragments. These are blasphemous books. Get rid of them. Ditch them. But no, you have to grasp at straws like these. Allah could have been way more clear about these books. And you'll see this in the next video that we're going to show. He could have just said, hey, these books are bad. Ditch them. But he didn't do that. He instead does the exact opposite. He over and over and over again is judge by this book. You have nothing to stand on. If you don't stand on this book, these are the books. Go to the people. He even tells Muhammad, like, go to the people of the scripture and ask them if you have any doubts, and they'll tell you. It doesn't say go to Muhammad and say what's in the Quran. It says, hey, Muhammad, go to the people of the book and judge by that. So there you go.
Indeed. Let's see. You know what? Hang on. Just for kicks, just for kicks. Didn't want you to think that we're just making things up here. But let's go ahead and check this out real quick. For your friend. Just so you have the references. So this is all Surah 2. O children of Israel, call to mind my favor which I bestowed on you, and be faithful to your covenant with me. I will fulfill my covenant with you, and of me alone should you be afraid. And believe in what I have revealed, verifying that which is with you. He's talking to the children of Israel. And Allah says, believe in what I have revealed, verifying that which is with you. What's with them? Because Allah says he's verifying it. But your Muslim friend says, no, he's verifying that it's corrupted. Well, which is it? Is Allah verifying that it's corrupted, or he's verifying their book? If I say I'm verifying the Quran, does that mean I'm calling the Quran corrupt? If I say, hey, I'm David Wood, I verify the Quran, would you interpret that as, oh, he's calling the Quran corrupt? Does that make any sense? Believe in what I have revealed, verifying that which is with you, and be not the first to deny it. Neither take a mean price in exchange for my communications, and me alone should you fear. And do not mix up the truth with falsehood, nor hide the truth while you know it. Notice what it says here, guys. They know the truth. How can they know the truth if they've got a corrupt book? And keep up prayer and pay the poor rate and bow down with those who bow down. What? Do you enjoin men to do good and neglect your own souls while you read the book? Have you then no sense? It's talking about their book. Saying, hey, you know what to do because you have the book. You read the book. What? A corrupt book? How would a corrupt book be guiding them to the truth? Doesn't make any sense. And then you have 275 and 279, which are what are the main two verses Muslims use to show that the Bible's been corrupt. 279 says, woe then to those who write the book with their hands and then say this is from Allah so that they may take for it a small price. You say, the books have been corrupted. Really? 285. Yet you it is who slay your people, talking to the children of Israel, yet you it is who slay your people and turn a party from among you out of their homes, backing each other up against them unlawfully and exceeding the limits. And if they should come to you as captives, you would ransom them, while their very turning out was unlawful for you. Now check this out. Do you then believe in a part of the book and disbelieve in the other? What does every Muslim, including your Muslim friend, Dr. Awesome Gamer, tell you you're supposed to believe about the Torah? You're just supposed to believe in parts of it that line up with Islam, and the other parts are corrupt. What does Allah say? Do you then believe in a part of the book and disbelieve in the other? What then is the reward of such among you as do this? Believe in just parts of the book. But disgrace in the life of this world, and on the day of resurrection they shall be sent back to the most grievous chastisement, and Allah is not at all heedless of what you do. Isn't it interesting that a Muslim can be telling you the exact opposite of what Allah says? Muslim friend says, yes, just believe in parts. What's Allah say? If you just believe in parts, I'll send you to hell. They say the exact opposite of what their God says. And then you have 291. And when it is said to them, believe in what Allah has revealed, they say, we believe in that which was revealed to us. And they deny what is besides that, while it is the truth verifying that which they have. The Quran is the truth verifying that which they have. But our Muslim friends say, no, it's not verifying that which they have. It's saying that what they have is corrupt. Well, make up your mind. 2101. And when there came to them an apostle from Allah, verifying that which they have. So Muhammad is the apostle of Allah, verifying what they have. And everyone, and your Muslim friends say, no, Muhammad is verifying that their book is corrupt. And this goes back to what Testify is just pointing out. If Allah wants to say the book is corrupt, it's not hard to do. Some very easy stuff to say, hey, your book's corrupt. Don't trust it. Don't trust those garbage books. Instead, yes, I'm verifying your book. I confirm your book. If you don't believe in all of your book, you're going to hell. You're going to hell. I'll send you to hell for not believing in all your book. And every Muslim says, oh, yeah, he's saying don't believe in the whole book. Just believe in parts of it. It's insane. That's Islam. They believe they can make up this religion as they go along. It's pretty sad and pathetic.
Very pathetic.
Pretty sad and pathetic. Dan McCullen shows that the slavery laws in Exodus were nearly copied verbatim from the Code of Hammurabi, which was written almost 1,000 years earlier. Why should that be at
Okie
all?
dokie.
Why should that be at all interesting to me?
Oh, take it up with. I mean, IP's got a bunch of videos on that. New Testament is my area of focus more. So, yeah, I go to IP. He's got a whole playlist dealing with those kind of things.
I have no idea why this should bother me at all, though. How did the author of the Quran have access to pseudepigraphical works like the infancy Gospels in Arabia since it was impoverished? I just mentioned Justinian, the Emperor Justinian, kicked the heretics out. A bunch of them went to Arabia. And when you say access to the infancy Gospels, it doesn't mean he's sitting there with a copy of it or something like that. These guys were storytellers. That's what you did. They did not have TV. They did not have the internet. People came to town. They shared the stories that they're familiar with. And so it's not some great mystery on how they were familiar with these stories. Anthony Rogers showed that Ehrman's book is anonymous. That's funny.
Amen.
And the explanation you gave are about Jesus, not his teaching. Did Jesus say that you may rakes and remover of your enemy or of human that does not believe I am the Son of God or mock me? Are there similar morals between the two? Yeah, go watch Moo Joe. Go watch my video. Again, it's titled 5 Times Muhammad Plagiarized the New Testament. Yeah, check that out. And you have one example from Paul there, but you have examples from Jesus there. All right. I think we should watch one more video.
Uno mas. How about the Allah on trial? That one, again, dovetails into that. It talks about the Islamic dilemma a little bit and the lack of clarity and all that good stuff. So that'd probably be a good place
This
to
one
start.
is titled, Allah on Trial. Is he evil, stupid, or just fake?
Or all the above.
Or all of the above. All right, here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
In a previous video, we saw that if Islam is true, then the largest false religion in the world, Christianity, is Jesus' fault. In short, if Jesus had properly taught his followers the one simple message, Allah is one, worship Allah, follow his commands, made sure that his book was actually preserved, warned his followers properly about false teachers, and told his followers that he wasn't crucified and raised from the dead, then Christianity would have never happened, and billions of people wouldn't be worshiping Jesus today. But instead, Jesus has caused more false worship than any human being ever. Bad Jesus. But perhaps we were too hasty. Another culprit must be cross-examined. The defense calls to the stand Allah. We have 3 accusations to make against the all-wise Allah. If Christianity really is a false religion, there were 3 actions taken by Allah that look highly suspicious. It's almost as if Allah wanted Christianity to succeed. Accusation number 1. At the center of this false religion, Christianity, is the belief that Jesus was crucified and rose again. But if this never happened, if Jesus was never crucified, then where did the Christians get this idea? Did they make it up? No. Allah made the crucifixion appear to them. Quran 4:157 says, "But they neither killed nor crucified Jesus. It was only made to appear so." The central event of the Christian false religion was all Allah's doing. All Allah had to do was nothing, and Christianity would have never started. If Allah wanted to stop Christianity, then why did he start it? Accusation.
Everyone get the point? It's an important point. One of the most important points, and especially for discussions with your Muslim friends. So Muslims will, how dare you believe that Jesus died on the cross? And where'd we get that idea? Muslims want to say, hey, your book's been corrupted. Okay, I open my book and it says Jesus died by crucifixion. Who corrupted? Oh, the Apostle Paul. No, read your own book. Allah corrupted it. Allah's the one. So guys, you catch that? We, according to Muslims, have a false belief. We have a false belief in Jesus' death by crucifixion. Where did we get that false belief? You trace the origin back, right? So, like, suppose you believe some sort of lie right now. And I say, where'd you get that lie? And, oh, I heard it from so-and-so. Okay, well, you believed so-and-so, so you had a problem. You shouldn't have believed him because he's a liar. But it's not your fault. You're not the one who lied. You believed someone else who told you a lie. And so shame on that other person. But right now what we're being told is we believe a lie about Jesus' death by crucifixion. It's like, okay, where'd we get that idea? We didn't make it up. We're the victims here. We're the victims here of this lie. Someone told us this lie. Where'd the lie start? Who started the lie? It ain't the Apostle Paul. It ain't later Christians. It ain't the Council of Nicaea. It's Allah. So Allah is the malicious liar who started this lie and got us all to believe in this lie. It's an important point to get your friends to wrestle with, because my experience, Muslims don't think through this at all, right? They'll sit there. The Muslim view is, we have a better view than you because you believe Jesus, the innocent Jesus, died on the cross, where we believe Jesus was rescued. See, we have a better view. It's like, keep taking a closer look here, because you believe Allah tricked billions of people into believing something that's false. And the reason we have a false religion right now is because Allah did a great job tricking everyone. So on what planet is your view better? Interested to know. All right.
Number 2. Let's go back to the year 50 AD. It's been about 20 years since Jesus was on Earth. The story of the crucified and risen Jesus is spreading like wildfire out of Judea and into the wider world. It's being proclaimed by people who think that they're actually serving Allah, but their false message is turning worship away from Allah and towards Jesus. If Islam is true, this is absolutely terrible. Christianity will grow to become the worst thing ever, the largest source of false worship in human history. What does Allah do? Allah could stop this blasphemy. Allah could make another prophet out of a speck of dust at any moment. But instead, Allah waited. Allah watched false worship and did nothing. After Jesus, how long did Allah wait before sending the next prophet to humanity? 50 years? 100 years? No, 570 years. For over half a millennium, the all-wise one watched on as the world was taught lies about Jesus and Allah. The supreme author sat on his hands while the world followed a false book. The all-hearing one listened as the world worshipped Jesus. The all-speaking one sent no messenger, no word, no reminder, no book for over 5 centuries. If Allah wanted to stop Christianity, why did he wait so long? Accusation number 3.
Everyone get that? So Allah messes things up, and then a bunch of false teachings start spreading, and then instead of correcting them, Allah just lets it go. Just lets it go until it spreads and becomes the world's dominant religion.
When he does send somebody, it's some Arabian dude who marries a 9-year-old and steals his adopted son's wife, and is a...
In other words, the last person we would ever listen to, that's who Allah sends to correct a big mistake.
Good plan. Good plan. Awesome plan. I like this plan.
He is surely the best of planners.
Yeah. Best of deceivers. Now he's the best of planners. Now there's another accusation. So.
It's really good. It's really good. Powerful. All right. Accusation 3.
Finally, 570 years later, Allah sends a prophet. By this time, there are 20 million Christians in the world. That's 20 million people who think they are worshiping the true God, but are actually following a false book. Obviously, Allah must convince Christians to give up their book. Christians, to be the true followers of Allah, must be told what you call the Gospels are actually corrupted. What you call the Gospels are not true books. What you call the Gospels were not given to Jesus. You must not read the Gospels anymore. So how did Allah communicate this vital message? Quran 5:46 through 47 tells us, "Then in the footsteps of the prophets, we sent Jesus, son of Mary, confirming the Torah revealed before him. And we gave him the gospel, containing guidance and light, and confirming what was revealed in the Torah, a guide and a lesson to the God-fearing. So let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in it." Oh my goodness. Let's get this straight. Allah must tell Christians to reject false books that they call the Gospels. And yet, Allah refers to the true book given to Jesus as the Gospel. Allah needs Christians to reject the Gospels, yet says that Christians should judge by the Gospel. According to Islam, there's a book that Allah gave to Jesus. By the time of Muhammad, no one has seen this book for over half a millennium. No Christian alive knows that it ever existed, so obviously they don't have a word for it. So in his wisdom, what word does Allah use to refer to Jesus' book? He calls it the gospel. Allah refers to the true book using the very same word that the Christians use for their false books. Allah took the word that Christians use for their own made-up, false, blasphemous books and applied it to the true book. If Allah wanted to stop Christianity, why didn't Allah tell Christians to give up their book? Why did Allah make it highly likely that Christians would confuse their false books with Jesus' true book? Given these three accusations, there are three possible verdicts. Number one, Allah is an ignorant moron. Or, number two, Allah wanted Christians to become Christians. Or, number three, the Quran was invented by an illiterate Arabic merchant who didn't know the first thing about the Gospels. While Jesus' role in the rise of Christianity is inexcusable, there's an even more guilty party. Allah faked the founding event of Christianity. Allah did nothing for over 5 centuries as Christianity spread, and Allah told the Christians that he gave Jesus the gospel, knowing that this would cause confusion. Who's to blame for Christianity? It's Allah. Muslims, take a hint. Even Allah wants you to believe in Jesus, the crucified and risen Son of God.
There you go.
Yeah, hey, you could expand upon that a little bit by bringing up some points from other videos, like Allah helping certain Christians.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like Allah
Sure
helping Christians become uppermost, but he helped the wrong ones. And you could toss in there when in the Quran, when Allah has Jesus doing things like giving life to clay birds. It's funny in the sources that Muhammad is plagiarizing for this. The point is that Jesus is God. The point of these stories is that Jesus is God. He creates the same way that God does. God makes man out of clay and then breathes life into him, and then man becomes man is alive. Jesus is doing, look, I can do the exact same thing. I'll make a bird out of clay, breathe into it, boom! Now the bird is flying away. Does the exact same thing God does. Muhammad is familiar. Muhammad hears these stories, but then he says, oh, and Jesus gives life to clay birds by Allah's leave. And Muslims say, oh, it says by Allah's leave. Yeah, what's by Allah's leave? That he creates in the same way Allah creates? And that Allah's letting him do this? Why? So one he's got the ability to do it, and Allah lets him do it. So, but here's the thing. Doesn't Allah know when he has Jesus creating in the same way that Allah creates? Doesn't Allah know when he has Jesus doing all these things that people are going to conclude that he's God? So where do people get the idea that Jesus is God? From Allah. So you've even had Muslim commentators who believe, Shabir Ali has mentioned this, that belief in Jesus' resurrection was because after Jesus is miraculously rescued, Allah allows Jesus to appear to his followers to comfort them. Say, hey guys, I'm actually, look, I'm not gone, I'm still here. They misinterpret this as resurrection. But it's just funny, so now you could say even Allah is responsible for belief in Jesus' resurrection. So Allah, so guys, look, do the math here. Jesus' death, his resurrection, and his deity. Those are like the core elements of the Christian gospel. You could trace, according to Islam, you could trace all those back to Allah. Allah tricked people into believing that Jesus died on the cross. Allah allowed Jesus to appear to his followers, that's where they got the idea of the resurrection. And Allah allowed Jesus to do things that only God is supposed to do, convincing people that Jesus is God. You can trace all this back to Allah. And then Allah helps the followers of Jesus who affirm his death, resurrection, and deity. And he helps those followers become uppermost. In other words, guys, why is Christianity this big thing?
Yeah,
Allah.
It's a lot. And it's funny too. Going back to the part about the gospel, we're told, no, you don't have the gospel that was given to Jesus. that's been corrupted, that's been lost, or something like that. Maybe there's only fragments of it in your gospels, but that's corrupted. You can't trust that one. But then, like, no, there's people that are supposed to judge by the gospel, and he uses the exact same word for this supposed book that existed at this time that they're supposed to judge by, ensuring that there would be confusion for. So, like, if you're tired of hearing Avery and David and Sam Shamoon and Jay Dyer and whoever else talking about the Islamic dilemma, whose fault is that? Like, it's somebody who's saying, oh, look, my speech is so clear. My speech is so clear. Let me call this blasphemous book, let me, that's just full of all kinds of other stuff, the gospel, just to ensure that Christians 2,000 years down the road get confused, and the rise of the internet happens, and there's this avalanche of apostasy. Well, whose fault is that? You could have called it like, no, that's not the gospel. You needed trust the book of light or something else, like anything else. But that's the term that he uses to ensure confusion. So the Islamic dilemma, stop pissing and moaning about it so much, guys. It's Allah's fault. He could have used a different word so that we didn't get those two books confused. But no.
And then as he's saying that he's affirming the Injil, the gospel, which, by everyone, Injil is an Arabic transliteration that ultimately goes back to the Greek word euangelion. So he's affirming that this book is Greek. It's Greek. Euangelion, you transliterate that, it becomes Injil in Arabic. But he's also telling Christians that they have it, that they read it, that they are supposed to judge by it. So put all of that together. Put all of that together, ladies and gentlemen. Where did Christians get the idea that Jesus died by crucifixion? They got that idea from Allah. Where did Christians get the idea that Jesus rose from the dead? Got that idea from Allah. Where did Christians get the idea that Jesus is God? Got that idea from Allah. And then who are we supposed to listen to? We're supposed to listen to the Christians who became uppermost, who happen to be Christians who believe in Jesus' death, resurrection, and deity. Those are the ones who have Allah's stamp of approval. And then when the Quran comes along to correct our beliefs, it tells us that we're supposed to judge by the gospel, which affirms the inspiration, preservation, and authority. The Quran affirms the inspiration, preservation, authority of the gospel that we have, that we read, which affirms Jesus' death, resurrection, and deity. So Allah is a very strange God. This is a very, very strange God. All our false beliefs come from this strange God. He gives us all these false beliefs. Then he tells us we have to believe in people as the true followers of Jesus who affirm these things that are false. And then in order to correct us, we're supposed to go to our book, which affirms all these things as true. And that's supposed to correct us. This is insane, guys. This is totally insane.
Yeah. It's like I said, the more you pull on the thread, it's just the weirder it gets. And there's no logical foundation. There's no evidential foundation. There's not like, okay, well, this is like the prior probability of this is really, 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 really low. So surely Muhammad did some like really amazing verifiable miracles that we can verify this with. And it's like, well, we got these weird traditions 100 and 200 years later that we rejected thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands out of them. But trust us, guys, like these guys far, far away verified that Muhammad shot water out of his fingers and a rock talked to him. It's like, wow, just knock me down with a feather. That sure beats the resurrection, any day. Like you're not giving, like if there's absurdities that I can't understand and you go, okay, well, like only Allah knows best, but like, here's an amazing miracle to overcome all of that. That would at least be something that I could think about, but you guys don't have that. You just have a guy going around going, I'm just a warner. I'm just a warner. I'm just a warner. I can't do this stuff. Don't come to me for that. But the Dawa guys are going to go, well, trust these hadiths that come 100 200 years later of the telephone game of doing these weird miracles in a completely in an environment where people would be predisposed to be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Let's accept that. Versus we got guys who are preaching Jesus's resurrection in Jerusalem 40 days after the event, who where the city where Jesus just got crucified. Yeah, it's just no matter how you look at it, this is just, it's bonkers. You're asking us to believe in just something absolutely bonkers. And on top of that, there's all the ugliness that comes with Islam. It's like, what do you guys have other than making babies and threatening people with a sword? I don't get it. I don't get it. And Trinity hard. Like, come on.
And so it's, reject Trinity because Trinity hard. Allah says Trinity too hard. It's like, okay, so we're supposed to believe Allah? Yes, you must believe Allah. So the same God who convinced us to believe in Jesus' death, resurrection, and deity, and convinced us to believe in the true followers of Jesus who affirm Jesus' death, resurrection, and deity, and who tells us that we have to judge these things by the book that we have, which affirms Jesus' death, resurrection, and deity. And supposedly this is how we're supposed to believe him, that we have to reject Jesus' death, resurrection, and deity. In other words, Allah seems like the most insane and unreliable source of information on the planet ever.
Right.
Weird stuff. Right. Weird foundation for a religion. I'll take these last couple super chats and then we'll be out. Let's see. We've got, so great to see Testify here. Love you both. God bless you and your families. Thank you, Songs of Relief. We've got two of my favorite brothers together. God bless all. And we've got expose guys. Yes.
You got to expose the exposers.
Yep. We gotta keep exposing. And guys, as far as exposing the Dawa guys, we watched a few of Testify's videos. Notice these are very short videos, easy to understand, lots of graphics, making what is at the end of the video a very simple point. Frequently saying, okay, look at the evidence. It's either this or this. Pick one. Which one is it? Or it's this or this or this. Pick one. And so these are very, very helpful videos. One, they're helpful as far as learning an argument. So you watch the video, get your mind around the point, learn the verse or two, and then use that in your discussions with Muslims or for sharing purposes, sharing it on social media and so on. These are very helpful videos. In fact, they're significantly more helpful than like sending someone like my 35-minute video on some topic or something like that. Because most people are not going to sit down and watch it unless they're really, really interested and so on. So, but short videos, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes and so on, loaded with graphics and so on. Very, very good to share. So, after we're done, I'm gonna put links to some of his main videos on dealing with Islam in the chat, but I encourage everyone to definitely subscribe, check out the channel, find what videos you want. And guys, this is pretty straightforward. You find a video on a topic and then you go to social media and you find people who need to hear that. You find Muslims who are making some claim and you've got the video that responds to the claim they're making and so on. This is how it has to happen. The Dawa guys they've got Dawa fans out there that are pretty relentless in sharing complete nonsense. We have to be relentless in exposing the nonsense, which is why we've got expose, guys. That's true.
Plus, when you share it, you stick it to Pakistan.
Yeah. Pakistan will be enraged at you for sharing that.
They will.
So if you want to stick it to Pakistan, the armpit of the world, share some Testify videos. All right, one more here. Testifito! I saw your Rhett and Link video around when it came out. Look how far you've come. God bless.
I see a Metro Man avatar there, which makes me wonder if that's the real Metro Man. I don't know if you've seen the omnipresent Metro Man in all of your comments and different stuff, but he's everywhere. He's funny. So
powerful.
Thank you.
What is your Rhett and Link video?
I think it was just, I don't remember which one of them. They just basically said that this is a long time ago, but the trilemma was bunk because Lewis never considered the legend option. And I'm like, actually, Lewis wrote a whole essay called on modern biblical criticism. I think it's titled Fern Seeds and Elephants. And he gives like 4 different reasons why he thinks modern biblical critical scholarship is a bunch of crap. And he is a literary critic, and he's been critiqued by other literary critics. And so he kind of uses that background to say, like, no, the methods that they're using are pretty poor from an epistemological standpoint, or they're just biased against the supernatural and different stuff like that. So yeah, it was a long time ago though that I put up that video. So
let's see. Just bought a set of books with Aristotle, Plato, Nietzsche, Machiavelli, and Rousseau, and any other philosophy I should pick up for Dawa or apologetics. If you're talking about Dawa and apologetics, probably a logic book, or even a good website, or some good videos on logic, going through some basic fallacies. If you get a logic book, or you're on a website or something like that has logic, there are tons and tons of fallacies and tons and tons of things to learn, but there are some that are especially relevant because they keep popping up in Dawa. So you'll know them when you see them. There are certain things like, straw man and things like that, that are especially relevant with Dawa. So
if they're looking to really master the Islamic dilemma, Gordon Nichols got a really good book, The Gentle Answer to Muslim Accusation of Biblical Falsification, that I would strongly recommend. And then he also has a commentary with other people, but he's like the main editor of the Quran. Those are 2 really helpful resources. So Gordon Nichols is a good resource.
And you have Metro Man, the defender of metrocity.
Where were you this morning in my video, Metro Man? You normally first, and people were even in the comments being like, "Where's Metro Man? Where's Metro Man?" So, did you retire to become Music Man? Not cool, Metro Man.
Allowed him to keep.
You're gonna let Megamind run amok in my comment section? Anyway.
All right, everyone. So, definitely want to check out Testify's videos. And again, 2 things. One, when you find an argument you like, learn it. That is the most important. That's the most important thing. But also, other thing to do is share it. Share the videos. Share the videos. That's it. That's it, guys. Islam is doomed. Islam is doomed if the problems become common knowledge. It's doomed.
You're finished.
How do these things become common knowledge? People watch them and share them. That's how it happens. So it's all on you, guys. It's all on you. All right. Any final thoughts before we sign out there? Testify.
No, just thanks for having me. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. You're the granddaddy of. Sorry, that's terrible. I don't mean to make you feel old, but
I feel old, so you're good.
That's okay. I'm in my 40s, so it's fine. But just appreciate being on with the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who's been doing Christian apologetics on YouTube for so long. It's definitely an honor, and so thanks so much for having me. And the fact that you like my stuff is high praise indeed. High praise indeed.
And anytime if you're ever making a new video where you're like, "Oh, I got something really, really awesome," you got my contact info. We could always do an episode actually. Watch your video, which I'm sure will be short, 5 or 6 minutes, but we could also do a live stream where we go in detail and explain how to use it and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right.
On that, so.
All right, everyone. So check out the channel, check out the videos, share the videos, learn the material. Good stuff. These are good times. These are way better times than they were 15 years ago when it was like 3 people dealing with Islam and everything sucked back then. And now we got tons of people cranking out awesome content. And these are good times. All right. So I'm not sure what we got scheduled for the rest of the week. Supposed to be on This Week in Jihad with Robert on Wednesday. I think on Thursday, there's some very interesting stuff coming out of the UK. There was just a study that showed that the young generation is suddenly becoming really interested in religion because they're seeing the emptiness that has been caused by people turning away from God. So anyway, there's a new study out, and we got someone who is behind the study. Supposedly, It's not official yet. He said Thursday works for him, so just have to figure out a time. But should be on Thursday with some cool stuff. And other than that, should have a couple videos out this week because I'm in a video making mood. Just have my cough to worry about. All right, everyone. Check out Testify. Check out the videos. Share the videos. And we'll catch you all next time.